Tell you what, one thing about this is it can be a real rabbit hole, this whole live streaming business and getting it all set up. So, hello, my name is Mike Monday, and let me tell you where I'm at with this track. So, this is a piece of music that I've been working on for quite some time, and so when did I first splurge it out? There you go, 20th of November 2019. Okay, now I haven't been working on it constantly all that time, so I worked on it next in January, then in February for a spell. I did quite a bit on it in February, it seems, and then a break of about a week, and then I worked on it in March once, and then came back to it a week later, and now we're basically up to today. Okay, and I've actually done another. Hey Rich, good to see you. So I've actually done, that's Rich from YouTube, so if you're wondering where these comments are coming in, I've got this going out on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch. So what am I saying? Can't remember what I'm saying. Yeah, so I did, yeah, that's right, and I did another session on this track, actually live stream another session on this track a few weeks ago. So it wasn't the last session, but it was the session before last, and you can, if you're interested to see that session, well, I actually tried something for the first time that I've never tried before, which is kind of developing something motivically, and actually that me doing that has really helped in lots of different ways. However, the next session I did on this track, which I didn't stream, I listened back to this yesterday, and essentially I'm not going to use any of it. so which is absolutely fine. I don't have a problem with that. It happens quite a lot. So I'm basically stuck with a problem. Well, a couple of problems. I'm not stuck with a problem. I have a couple of problems, and not the ones that are really obvious by just looking at my face. Tim! My man Tim, in the house. I don't know what's going on here. It's not meant to happen. Ah, there we go. Good to see you. Yeah, so the two problems I have, which aren't to do with my face, are that, number one, I've been working on this for a while, and I can feel myself starting to get a bit with it. Which I've got to bear in mind is going to impact my opinion, yeah, and so that's one problem. Yeah, so I'm not struggling, but I'm in danger of struggling to finish because I'm in danger of losing the race with boredom, if you like. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing is, so that's a kind of psychological thing, which I've really got to bear in mind. Yeah, so I'm going to be super kind of not worry too much. Super not worry too much doesn't make sense, does it? But I'm going to really make sure I don't worry too much about my opinion while I'm actually making my opinion of what I'm doing while I'm making it, because I've got that boredom thing to contend with. Yeah, I'm getting quite sick of it. So that's one problem, which is the psychological problem. But really the problem musically is this section here. Okay. Now, I explained this in the other live stream, but I might as well just play it to you. And because it's got quite a lot in it, I'm a bit worried that my computer isn't going to be able to manage it and stream and everything at the same time. So fingers crossed. So this is how it goes. So this is a track that's really telling a story, and it's a specific story I've got in my head. turn this on actually. Okay, so it gets to that bit. So we're all cool there. Obviously it's not mixed and things like that, but... So that's... is now when the problems start beginning, okay? So this is cool, but essentially... So this section now is the problem area, okay? Because where we're going to end up is... here. Alright. Hopefully it doesn't wibble on me. Thank you, JP. Hey Rick. Yes, do please stop lurking. Okay, so that's basically where we're going. Okay, and then it's going to end like this, sort of with a. Yeah, so kind of all ends, and then. Yeah, I take no responsibility for my t-shirts, as my wife is now reminding me on YouTube. The internet, a really great website called Threadless is one of the places. But I'm going to start making my own t-shirts. Ooh, how about that? Yeah, I know. Tim got in touch with me separately and asked about the t-shirts. I get asked about them all the time, which is obviously the universe or the internet telling me to make t-shirts. Okay. So anyway, coming back to the compositional issue I have at the moment. This section here, right? This. It wants to land here, so it's like a yeah, when it gets to this bit, right? But the thing is, the oh, I really don't want to play this section here. It's just not working at all. It's just very annoying. I'll play it. But let me just, before I play it, let's say what I was trying to achieve, and it's a real mess, but what I was trying to achieve with this section is increasing the tension while at the same time using the same motif. So developing the actual thing and the actual ideas in this section so that it kind of, the tension builds and then it lands here. Now, I kind of do it here, but it's a mess and I just don't think it's very good. So let's give it a go. I mean, not let's give it a go. Let me just play this section that isn't working for me right now. Well, everything comes in here at once because I ran out of time at the end of the session. Yeah, so it goes nuts. So system overload. There you go. So basically, it's not working. And so what I have decided I want to do is, where is it? Here. Okay, here. These are the options, and it might be a combination of these. Try a more obvious rhythm, so JP, my thought too. More obvious rhythm, so drums with bass in the middle section. So that's one option. Now, one thing about that is that there is a part of me that wants to avoid it, because it's kind of the obvious thing to do. And it's almost like it feels a bit to me like the cop-out thing to do in this situation. Because what I like about this track is that it doesn't have what you would call like a jump up drum beat by any stretch of the imagination at all. You know, it's like that's basically the most you get, yeah? You know, it's just kind of, yeah, and if you get this big great like beat in the middle of it, it just might be a bit take away from kind of what it is. But I'm going to try it anyway, just because it's the obvious thing to do. So that's one thing. The other thing to try is to try this, kind of going with this pad part here. This chord progression. And do something around that. Sort of write some parts around that, if you like. Quite, you know, church-like. And the other thing to try that I thought I might try is try the piano variation I composed upstairs. So last weekend I had to play around, and I think I might try that first, actually. I'm just going to get rid of all the. I'm not going to get rid of it. I'm just going to mute it. I can delete that. I can delete that. Let's mute that. Okay. Because one of the things that, I mean, the reason I've got this bit at the end, because this bit at the end didn't come until quite late. The reason I've got this bit at the end is because of this part here, which I just played in a splurge. You hear this weird, the kind of brassy thing. Okay, which it goes like this. Yeah, so you hear that tune. Come on, hurry up. Very slow when there's nothing else playing. Okay, that's one half of it, and then this is the second half. So, in the original version of this piece of music, that was the only time that came in, and it seemed a bit weird. I mean, I was into it, but I was like, it's just a bit weird that it comes in and nothing happens. So I put this in, which is basically a variation on that theme. Yes, Tim's saying that part took me by surprise when I first heard it. That's kind of the point of it. It's part of the story. So you can hear this is basically the same theme, slightly varied. Okay. And what I was trying to do was tie these two things together by basically taking little parts of that theme and creating other parts out of them. And so far, I kind of haven't. It just hasn't. I haven't got it. Yeah, I haven't sorted it. Okay, but that concept still needs to happen. I need to develop something about that theme. Yeah. While also building tension. Okay. So, and not making it just all over the place, basically, which is what's happening right now. Okay. So basically, one of the other things about this track is this. And what I'm trying to kind of work out is this the thing, right? Or is this the thing? Okay. And I don't know yet, but I'm gonna have a play, right? So first of all, what I'm gonna do is try and remember what I composed upstairs last weekend because I didn't write it down, being the idiot that I am. And here we go. That's the wrong one. Bear in mind, there isn't really. I mean, I haven't got a huge. What's the word? I'm not freaking out or anything. I'll get there. Right. So, what did I play there? Or did it just forget everything? It's very annoying. Oh no, it's underneath. There you go. Okay. So, Rick, working backwards, right? So this is something that you want to actually. Rick says, I'd freak out. I find it really difficult working backwards or trying to fill in a middle bit, which suggests to me that you write left to right. Okay, you make music left to right. And I can promise you that I do not think that is the optimal way to be making music, and it may well explain, if you do struggle to make music, to finish music, why. What? Not the only reason. One of the reasons. So obviously, to a certain extent, I make music left to right because when I'm splurging, you'll see me going left to right. But in terms of the way I kind of think about what I need to do next, I don't go, right, I'm going to just get this bit right first, and then I'm going to go to the next bit, and then I'm going to go to the next bit. Basically, I'm thinking about it in terms of the whole, the composition or the whole track. Yeah, so it's like I actually think it's much more effective to start with the thing, which doesn't necessarily come in at the start, which is the kind of the main thing, and then identify what you kind of want the payoff moment to be. Yeah. So for instance, in this track, the payoff moment is here when that piano comes in. Yeah. And then kind of write around that. Now, sometimes in identifying those two things, you've already kind of come up with an arrangement, which is sort of what has happened here. So yeah, I would question how, because it may well be that the way that you're thinking about music is actually making it harder. Okay. Because the thing is, I'm not. I mean, even though I'm getting a bit tired of this track and I'm getting a bit bored of it because I've heard it lots of times, I'm not freaking out because I know I know there's a solution somewhere, and I know I'll be able to do it, and I know what I've got to do as well. And I know, for instance, that this wants to be some kind of variation or development of this melody, and it needs to kind of build tension, and then so it can land here really well. Okay, which kind of gives me something to work towards, if you like. So I'm just going to listen. Actually, it wouldn't be there, would it? It would be here. Let's go from there. Mistakes that. Right, so Rick is asking a very good question. So he asks, after the less thinking stage of splurging, you need to start thinking more about the music. Well, so I think the question is slightly... so I do think about the music, but I don't think about... I attempt not to think about the music when I'm in the session. Now, you're watching me here decide between the options. So these are options here. Okay, you're watching me here decide between 3 different options. Okay, and so actually let me go. Let me back up a bit. Right, the first, yeah. So you don't think when you're doing, yeah. You think when you're listening to the music back at another time in another place. Okay. So I do think about my music, but I don't do it when I'm actually splurging. So for instance, when I played this part in, I was essentially splurging. Yeah, I was vaguely remembering what I might have played upstairs, but I was essentially splurging. I haven't fixed any of the mistakes. Yeah, I haven't done anything to try and make it right. I've just gone, yeah. So I flipped into creator mode, and then I've just been listening. Now I'm kind of I'm not thinking at this stage. I'm listening, yeah, and I'm seeing how it kind of feels at this point. What I'm now going to do is try something else. Yeah. Oh, hang on. Where is it? Yeah. I'm going to try something else. So this is the next option. Yeah. Which is to use the current pattern progression as the starting point for the kind of development that's going to go on. Yeah. And again, in order to do that, I'm not going to think while I'm actually doing it. I'm going to just do it. Yeah. And then if I do end up trying this option, and I probably will if I have enough time, the beat one, yeah, again, I'll do the same thing. Yeah. Now, but all of that is to say that I am actually, when I'm listening back to this, in this particular situation, I am specifically becoming the editor, because I'm in a specific situation where I'm deciding between 2 overarching solutions to a problem. However, if you're not, if you haven't kind of practiced this separation between creator and editor, I would suggest you don't do it, because you can do, I mean, I could, so for instance, one thing I could do now, I'm not going to do it today, is that this could actually be 3 separate sessions. So I could have done what I just did, yeah, and if I didn't have very much time, this is probably what I would have done. I would have done, so I've done this, try the piano variation I composed upstairs, right? So I've done that. I could now, in fact, I'm going to actually do that. I'm going to export it like this. Okay, I'm going to make sure that I haven't muted anything that doesn't need to be muted. Right. Yeah. So I'm going to export this like that. So this is option 1 for solving the problem, because in reality I don't really know if it's any good or not, because I'm in the session, right? But you know, when I'm in this session, I'm not thinking, well, I mean, I kind of am, we're always thinking, right? But I'm not like, how am I going to solve this problem? Because I didn't done the thinking outside, because I've got a list here. I did the thinking beforehand. I became the editor when I made this list. Yeah, I wrote to myself, set up end, create tension by developing the thing. And then I came up with 3 different solutions to that problem. I'm now exporting the first solution. Yeah. And it's going to take a little while to do that. I will then try the second solution, and then I might, if I have time, try the third solution. So, but in the actual writing of the music, I'm not thinking, I'm not over-analyzing whether I can make this better. I'm actually just, at this point, very clear that I'm simply deciding between 3 overarching solutions to the problem. if that makes sense. And the only way I can know that is by doing the thing, exporting the thing, and then listening back. So, and then Rick says, but in the past I've ended up with lots of options I couldn't choose between. Yeah, but when are you deciding to choose between them? And how many options are you talking about? Actually answer this question, Rick. In the past I've ended up with lots of options I couldn't choose between. People often, because I'm, because of the approach that I take with splurging, and the approach I kind of espouse, which is going as quickly as possible, and that thing, they think that means that I'm just like, I just do whatever. It's absolutely not that at all. It's just knowing when to do what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah. So when you were like Rick, when were you trying to choose between the options that you couldn't choose between? Okay, I've ended up in a mess with lots of different arrangements. Yeah, so when are you, like, how are you listening to those arrangements? First of all, are you listening outside of the DAW or whatever your setup? Or, I bet you can answer it. Last time this happened, because obviously it's happened a few times, where did you listen to it to decide? Did you listen in the studio or did you listen outside the studio? This kind of thing makes a real difference. So, the last time this happened, were you listening by were you trying to decide by opening the arrangements and listening to that, or were you listening to audio files? Rick, please answer the question. Right, let's not change the subject. Okay, so you listened outside the studio to audio files. Okay, well that's good. So second question: how many options did you have? Yeah, how many options were you deciding between? And don't worry, Rick, we'll get to the bit where... There goes my 2-year-old again. Don't worry, Rick, we'll get to the bit where I answer how do you know what's best or worse? About 5, okay. So that's the first thing. I probably, when I'm talking about arrangement things, I probably wouldn't come up with 5 options. So next question, I would probably lower the number of options deciding between. Next question, what were the differences in the things that you were doing very large or very small? So, for instance, I would call what I'm doing here very large, in that I'm trying very, very different things as the different options as solutions to this problem. Yeah, these aren't small changes. These are big changes. Yeah. So, Rick, were they very large or very small? So is it like this, where you're trying a totally different approach with different notes and like a different kind of chord progression? Quite large. So what kind of changes are we talking about? So we've got to first instrumentation. Okay, so different sounds. Okay, so I mean, I wouldn't really call that very large, to me anyway, because if you look here, I'm the overall sound. Yeah, I mean that is something that is different. and it can sound very different. But really, if you notice what I'm doing, I mean, I'm not, this piano part here, yeah, it's not going to necessarily remain on the piano. I'm just listening to the actual kind of notes, yeah. And then, you know, with the beat one, I mean, that's going to be very different as well. It's a totally different thing, yeah. And then with the, what's the other one? This pound one, that's again, it's totally different notes. So yeah, I don't know whether, you know, whether that is because I don't know how large the changes are. But basically, if you're trying to choose between lots of options where the changes are very small, that could also be a problem. So too many options, yeah. And make sure that when you are choosing between problems, that the changes are large if you've got lots of options, because it's like, it doesn't really make that much difference when they're small. Then the third thing is, what was it? I can't remember what it was now. Yeah, I'll just go on to the what makes one piece of music better than another. So so Rick's saying he had about 5 and liked them all in different ways, right? So do you know what it was about them that you like? Do you know what it was about? Can you describe, I mean, you don't have to do it now, but can you describe to yourself what it was about them, the different ones that you liked? Yes or no is the, yeah. Can you describe that, Rick? To yourself, you say, well, what it is I like about this is that, right? So there's your problem, right? Because I've described to myself, I mean, this is slightly different, but I've described to myself what I actually need, what this section needs to do, right? Set up and create tension by developing the thing. And at this point, I'm defining the thing as that kind of melody thing, yeah? Right, so if you don't know what it is, yeah, that you're trying to do, then you're never going to know what's better. Yeah, so if you say to yourself, I mean, if it's about instrumentation, well, I want to create something that's very beautiful and lilting, yeah, and one instrumentation, you know, one kind of version of the instrumentation is like really harsh, then you can say, okay, so that might not be the best way of doing that, yeah. So if you know what it is that you are trying to do, then you can make a judgment as to, and out of the process, you know, that's why I said that, you can make a judgment as to whether that is better or worse than another one. Yeah. If you know what the problem is that you're trying to solve, then that suggests certain solutions. Whereas if you just go, oh, I like this, or I like that, or I hate this, or I hate that, that holds zero information. Like literally, there's nothing you can do with that. Oh, I like it. And you know when you get feedback from people, particularly on the internet, and they say, oh yeah, no, it's really nice, it's really good. Or someone goes, oh no, I don't like that. And that's it. And then you get really frustrated because you're like, well, can't you give me some constructive feedback? That is what everybody does to themselves. They're not listening and saying, this is what needs to happen, or, you know, this is what I'm trying to do, and this is what needs to happen. Yeah. So start giving yourself constructive feedback. Oh, there you go. I never knew that. So, all right, so that's actually, I should probably rename that, shouldn't I? Here we go. Option 1. Okay. What I'll do is I'll save that as option 1. Okay. Now I'm going to save it again as something else. Yeah, so Rich is saying, I remember hearing the painter Howard Hodgkin say he would often think about the painting he was working on in a non-studio environment. Absolutely. I mean, it's one of the paradoxes of the creative process, and particularly for musicians, I believe, because we're kind of in the music, because we're listening to it, in time, is that when we are creating the music, we are probably the worst people to judge it. We're not in a position to judge it, so you've got to do everything you can to avoid judging it when you're actually making it, which sounds like crazy if you don't know what, if you haven't kind of heard me saying what I'm talking about here, but it's like you just need to do it and then judge it later, which is this is why I'm doing this whole kind of process thing. So this is the when you say Rick, do you have guidelines for constructive feedback about music? What do you mean? Guidelines for receiving feedback? Guidelines for giving feedback? Guidelines for seeking feedback? What are you actually talking about? Unfortunately, I haven't trained my ears enough to be able to just to figure that out, what that chord progression is without looking at it, I'm afraid. Yes, I do. So Rick's saying, like, what things to look for in your music. Yes, I do, definitely. I'll tell you what they are in a second. Hang on. Oh, come on. Oh, it's so annoying. Okay, so we've got G. Okay. I can hear a chord in my head. Very annoying because it's a very slow thing. I play it on the piano. Sorry, Rick, I will get it to you. I'm just in the middle of something. Where are we? Here we go. It's better, right. Okay. Right, come on. Right, okay. I think this might be the one. No. So I don't need to get this right now, okay? So I don't need to get this right, I just need to get the general idea. So now here you will hear me, so what was, can I just tell you what was going on there in my head? So I was hearing something in my head and I was trying to get to it. So in other words, I had a design, and this is the design discovery thing, okay, that I talk about a lot, right? So when you have an idea in your head and you're trying to make it come out, that's what I would call it's design. Because you're trying to design something that you've got in your head. Yeah. Now the mistake people make is that they get stuck at the design point, and if it doesn't come out of their head the way that they hear it, yeah, they just keep on banging their head against it and getting trapped by this design idea. But what they're missing is that on the way to trying to find the thing that they've got in their head, there's all sorts of other things happening. And this happens in sound design. It happens in kind of like everything that you do, really. Along the way, other things happen that wasn't in your head, and you're like, oh, and then you go with that. That's called discovery, and it's this interplay between design and discovery where the real magic happens. Because really, what an idea in your head is a direction to go in. You don't want to necessarily. I mean, you can sometimes end up where you wanted to, where you kind of thought of, but it doesn't have to be like that. So what I was doing was going between design and discovery, because I had this sound, it wasn't a sound, but a chord progression. It wasn't exactly a whole chord progression, but I could hear different chords in my head. But because I'm not highly trained in being able to play what I can hear, I just can't do that at all. I can do it a little bit, but not very well at all. I'm kind of feeling things out, but other things are happening where I'm like, oh, how about that instead? And so that was what was going on here. So now what I need to do now is somehow play this in, because it's a bit more tricky than the last one. And I need to play this in so that I've got a general rough idea of the thing. And it doesn't need to be right. It just needs to be the general idea. Okay, so again, I'm taking a splurgy approach to it. I'm not trying to get it right now. Yeah. So I'm just going to have to play that again because I made that, because now I've forgotten what I did. So. What was it? Was that? Yep, okay, so... And the reason I'm playing this over and over again is so that I can remember it when I actually do the do the recording, right? Am I going to be able to do it? I just don't think I've got the ability to actually play this with the thing playing. I'm going to get all like and lose the plot. I can see it coming, and I'm going to have to do it in public, which makes it even worse. And I can't slow it down because these are all. I suppose I could. Oh, let's just give it a go. Because really all I'm trying to do is have something to listen to in the future. Yeah. So that's all I'm trying to do. Yeah. All right. Wish me luck. I'm not going to press record because that'll freak me out. Make sure nothing else is playing. Thank you, Rick. Okay. It's quite short, isn't it? Okay, that's okay then, because alright, I think I can do it. I'm gonna try this again. Again, this part might not be on the piano. The reason I'm playing it on the piano, I mean this thing might be on the piano, Everybody's clapping. Thank you very much. I tell you what. Why don't you give me a like? Why don't you give me a like? Give me a thumbs up for that questionable performance. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try actually going from the first two chords a couple of times. Oops. Okay, hang on. Because what I want to do, right? Okay, just go through in my head what's going on. This bit, sorry, I'm pointing at the bit here. So this bit, yeah, gets to D minor. Yep. Yep. And so what I want to try and avoid too much is having too much of the resolving to D minorness. When I say D minor, to the root, too much of it. Anyway, so I want to avoid going, because the original chord progression, which was the starting point of what I'm doing right now, was right, which resolved to D minor. Yeah, so. So I don't want to go there because I want to create tension with it. Yeah. So that's why, but at the same time, I kind of want it to be a little bit extended. Okay. And so I was thinking about starting it just with a repetitive. But that almost, it's a bit of a cop out. It's like, here we go. It's coming, right? Which is why I started going. Oh, damn it. And finally, we get there, right? All because I was avoiding D minor. Sorry, D minor. Or, you know, the root. Okay, so basically, I'm just explaining everything I'm doing. I hope it's useful in some way. So let's try this again. What did I do? Oh, God. At some point, I'm going to get much better at this live streaming where I remember what I'm doing and I'm able to talk to you and I'm able to do everything else, but not right now. Learning as we go. Right, so what was it? No. So. Okay. Why does that work? Okay. Right, anyway, don't matter. Go again. See that there? Okay, I've got to work this out. Right. Doesn't get there. Yeah. Like, as you can see here, like if I was like mega trained in music theory and you know, I mean, I'm pretty trained in music theory, but what I mean is like like as a composer, I'd be able to work this out really quickly. So what I'm having to do is actually figure it out just by playing, by pressing different buttons, basically. So that's what's going on at the moment. So. Right, so the problem is here, right? I've already got a version of it that is kind of okay, but and if this one doesn't work, I'm just going to move on. Right. Here we go. I'll do for now. I think what I'm going to do in this option 2 is just, oh, it scares me a little, I have to say. What am I going to do? I did actually think this was getting a bit long anyway. It's 11 minutes long, so mind you, that bit's quite long there. Thank you, Ro. We got there, kind of, in the end. I'm going to mute that just in case. Yeah, so, I don't know in case of what, but anyway. I wonder what happens if I just double that. I wonder what it sounds like. Let's just try it. It's a really slow pad this, so it might not work. Okay, cool. There's a few things in that I'm like, I'm sure there's a better way of getting to the sticky bit that I was getting a bit like confused about. I'm sure that there's a better solution to that, but I'm not going to faff around with that right now. I'm going to delete all this stuff. Yes, I am. And I'm going to delete. What's that? I'm going to delete this one. Okay. Let's just go to screen 3. I'm going to delete all you, and I'm going to get rid of all that. Yep. And let me just check where that part starts. And I'm going to do a brutal cut. And then we're going to listen to it once, just because I want to. Because that's the kind of guy I am. Wait a minute, what I'm going to do. I'll move this out of the way first. And bear in mind, like, if you're watching this and you can't play or you can't do chords, or you don't know, I mean, even less than I do about, theory and all that kind of stuff, then what I'm really, when you kind of zoom out and look at what I'm trying to do with the way the harmony is moving here, is essentially what I'm trying to do is bring people to the root, the D minor chord, for it to land here, because that's kind of like the payoff moment, and if you can't do it with if you can't do it with harmony because you haven't got those skills, there are actually other ways of doing it too. So I mean, it's like you can do it in lots of different ways. You can kind of build tension and without being able to do that. So I just want you to bear that in mind, because I think often people kind of go, oh, I can't do that, so therefore this is all like beyond me. I mean, the principle, the zoomed out principle remains the same. What's happened to that? Oh, is he going to do it? I'm a bit nervous about this, folks. Yeah, I try and avoid that myself, Rick, recording one chord at a time, because I just find it just kills the vibe for me. One thing I will do sometimes is try and do it slower. I'll play something in a lot slower if I haven't got the skill. But if I end up faffing around too much, I just give it I try and do something else, basically. Cut section. Ouch. That's still working. Cut too much. Cut too much. Let's do it this way around. Actually, one thing I could try, actually. Will that be too slow? I'm just going to try it quickly. Oh, give me a rest. Let's try this. Half speed. Actually, I might need to quantize it first, although it's going to go wibbly. I'll do. What are we doing? Oh yeah, half speed. Actually, what I'm going to do first, just in case I make a mistake, I'm just going to copy this over here like that. Okay. Hi, Tony. Good to see you. Just involved in notes, which I know is something that's relatively alien to you, Tony. Tony makes techno. Sounds like a YouTube channel. In fact, Tony does have a YouTube channel. Tony, why don't you post in the comments your YouTube link to your YouTube channel? And by the way, that isn't permission for everyone to start using my comments as a way of promoting their own stuff. Tony's an old friend, a long-time masterminder, whose success is very much my concern. So, I wonder what, that's probably going to be too slow, isn't it? Actually, what have I done? I'll do that. But let's just see here what it sounds like. Actually, let's go back. Where is the actual ending of this thing? The way of making music now means that things don't happen in regular places, which is great in a sense, but it also can be quite difficult. Like things come in when I feel they need to come in rather than on the end. I think that might work. I think it might work. I'm not going to judge whether it's working or not. I'm probably going to leave it like. I mean, I might go back to the shorter version, but I'm just going to listen once because I'm just very curious. So this here, I think what needs to happen is because it's all going really, really slowly in around the progression, yeah, and it's not right. But basically, that's the general idea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it at that, right, and I'm going to export that too. So now I've got two options, and I mean at this stage, I believe that this one is more like the one that I will go for. But I'm still not going to judge it. Yeah, I'm going to listen to both options because you never know. Because as we know, as the creators, we don't really know. Oh, hang on. There we go. And I mean, either option needs work, but I'm not going to do it now because I've got the broad options, if you like. I've got, here's one solution to the problem down so that I can judge it later on, and I've got another solution to the problem down so I can judge it. I mean, it doesn't mean that it's right as it is, but the overall solution, and that is enough for now. Yeah. So you didn't see, I mean, when I was working out chords, I wasn't editing. I was actually mainly trying to remember what it was that I played the last time. So, but also trying to get around. There was one sticky thing where I could hear something, I couldn't get it, and I never did get the actual chord that I wanted, that I could hear. Yeah, so I just played something else, which was okay. Yeah, and then I had the problem where it all kind of goes too quickly, so then I went half speed. Now it's going in certain places too slowly. It's just like, come on, get on with it. Come on, Mike. Yeah. So what I'm going to have to do next time, if I go with this version, is play around with how quickly various parts of the chord progression go. What I might actually do is print out the music. When I say print out the music, print out the piano part, whichever one I go for, and then have a play around, kind of outside the studio upstairs on the digital piano we've got upstairs. So I've got some questions to answer before I go. Oh yeah, and by the way, remember when we started? Oh, an hour and a half ago. Doesn't time fly? So here are the things. I just want to go back to the things that we had. Right. So this is what I came into the session with. Yeah, I'm just gonna get rid of these. Right. So this was the goal. Set up the end, right? Because the bit where the piano starts playing the Alberti bass, that's like the payoff moment, yeah. And we've got the start fine, but the middle section was the problem. So set up end. So this is actually, I should have said middle section, but I knew that, yeah. So if I was being really set up, maybe I should even say payoff. Create tension by developing the thing. Okay. Now, by developing the thing hasn't quite happened there. Although, interestingly, the second option does actually have quite a lot of characteristics. So, for instance, the descending movement. So, I won't be able to play, will I? Yeah. So it's got the same descending movement. So that is arguably a development of the thing, and it doesn't get to the D, yeah, the actual root at the end. So it is actually, option 2 is probably doing the closest to this goal. Anyway, so I tried this one first, and it was like, in my opinion, it was like, but I put it in. And then I tried this one, used the current pad progression as a starting point. So I started with those 2 chords and then went from there. Now this I haven't done. Try a more obvious rhythm with bass in the middle section. So the idea was actually for it not to be about harmony, and actually build it up with kind of rhythm and kind of a bit more of a thing. But honestly, listening to this over and over again, I mean, I could try it, but listening to this over and over again, I really don't want to go there with this track. I want it to be, I feel it needs to just be held without any like anything like that, because I think that would be a bit ridiculous. So what I might do is just leave it there. So that's basically what happened today. And so questions. So Rick says, if it sounds okay in the end, the process isn't wrong, is it? I wouldn't say that is true. It's not the process is wrong. That's the... I've noticed, Rick, in the way that you speak, you're very, like, black and white. Yeah. Wrong or right. I don't tend to use words like that very much. So it's not that it's wrong. Yeah. So you can make a great piece of music with a terrible process. You can do that. But does that mean that you're going to make lots of great pieces of music throughout your life? Without fail, consistently, over and over again? Probably not, right? So yeah, of course, lots of people make great music with what I would call an unhealthy creative process. That definitely can happen. But that doesn't mean that it can't be improved. I mean, even if, so for instance, even if let's just talk about me. So let's just say that I have let's compare myself to myself. So when I used to make music years ago, before I started, before I coached people and learned a lot about the creative process by coaching all of these different people and getting them to try things and test things and do all these different things, and on the other end had lots of insights about how I used to do things. If I compare my creative process now to my creative process then, my creative process now is much more healthy, right? But that doesn't mean, so I would say I have a relatively, not completely, relatively good creative process. Yeah, that doesn't mean it can't improve, does it? I'm not sitting here going, well, I've got it all figured out and I'm always brilliant. It's not like that at all. So no, it's not that it's wrong. It's just that yes, you can make a great piece of music with a bad creative process, but with an unhealthy creative process. But that doesn't mean, that doesn't mean it can't be improved. Okay, so. Have a look. Tony's asking, do you ever arrange by elimination, meaning copying all the parts put across the timeline and then cutting away parts to build the arrangement? Yes, I have done that at times. Not for a while though, and the reason being is that I've found that when I do that, and I'm sure this isn't true of everybody, so I'm not saying anything about anybody that does that, in their music. I've found that when I do that, I tend to kind of get a bit gritty, if you like. It's like 8 bars, 16 bars, 8 bars, yeah. And I'm trying to, as you can tell from the this, where's it gone? Yeah. You probably won't be able to see it, and I probably won't be able to change it now. Yeah, you can probably tell from this is not what I'm doing. I'm sort of using, instead of using the grid to know when to bring things in, I'm just going, it needs to come in now. Now, like that. Which often means things come in at very unusual times and leave at unusual times. Okay, so and by doing that, I suppose you could do what you suggest and just do that instead, and just be deleting things instead of adding things. So yeah, but that's probably why I tend not to do that at the moment so much. Rose says, this music is really affecting my brainwaves or something. I'm totally enjoying this. Brilliant. Well, thank you. It's like an intense cinematic, half unnerving thing, half a calm free fall surrender. Wow. Now that is what I call a compliment. Thank you. There you go. So yeah, Bundy says, yes, I do work like that, Tony, but I feel like unconsciously I'm ending with the same pattern from one track to another. That's probably the reason, or one of the reasons anyway, what I just said. That, yeah, it's like, well, I'm on a mission I know the full mission to get off the grid would be to not use a DAW at all, and maybe one day that will occur. But at the moment, with the way I'm working, I probably haven't got time to do that right now. So I'm using the DAW, which does a lot of things really well, obviously. So how I'm kind of approaching it, and you'll see me in my splurges doing it as well, where I'm just kind of playing when it feels like I want to play, and I stop playing when I feel like I want to stop playing. And I do a lot of things randomly. I'll just go blah, 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 and then see where that lands. Just kind of letting it go, letting it go, rather than it must stay here. Hang on. What's the right number of bars before the break happens? I'm just trying to get as far away from that as I possibly can. Hello, Manuel. A new member, a new leaper has joined us. Fantastic. So, Rose saying, Mike, you should release a mouth music record. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. Yes, this is the point with the DAW. With the DAW, we're in massive danger of making music with our eyes. And our eyes are not very good at listening. I've tried for years and they just don't work very well. So, that's one of the reasons I've got my piano and the stuff over here, and the DAW all the way over there, is in order to discourage me from doing that. This is where it all happens. And it's almost like I'm trying to avoid making music with my eyes, if you like. So there we go. That is another live stream in the bag. Next week, when am I doing it? Next week, I am live streaming on my Tuesday, which is most people, if you're not in the Australia or New Zealand or over this end of the world, it's most people's Monday, and it's my 5 a.m. in the morning. I haven't got my phone here today, so I can't tell you exactly when that is, but it's Sydney's 5 a.m. In the morning. And what I'm going to do next time is I'm going to move another track. I'm going to move another track that I started in the Idea Explosion Challenge forward. I think I am, anyway. Yeah, I probably will. And what I'm going to do over the next few live streams is, what am I going to do over the next few live streams? Yeah, I'm going to move tracks that I started in the Idea Explosion Challenge forward. I'm not sure about this one because I've got to get on with it with this one, so I might not do another session like this. I might not. It depends what happens. So. Yeah. Okay. Well, so there you go. Thank you, Sally. Sally's my wife. So is it Wednesday, 5 a.m.? I thought it was Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday and Wednesday at 5 a.m. So my Tuesday, lots of people's Monday. My Wednesday, lots of people's Tuesday at my 5 a.m., which is either the evening if you're in London and Europe, or kind of lunchtime-ish, I think, if you're in just before lunchtime if you're in America, depending on where you are in America, of course. So there we have it. I am going to go now. I'm going to stop rabbiting on about nothing in particular and say, stay safe, stay healthy, stay sanitized above all, and onwards and upwards.